You might have heard of boo baskets and burr baskets, but have you heard of period baskets? That's right. Today we're talking about the internet trend of period baskets. This came on my radar from one of you who sent me a reel about period baskets from Instagram, and this led me down a rabbit hole of the period basket. Period baskets are social media trends on TikTok and Instagram, but also offline. And these aren't trends that originated on social media, but I think they became bigger online. We're going to be talking about the baskets today, why people give them, when they become problems, and when they may be welcome. So let's start with the basics about what they are and who gives them, and ultimately a clearer direction of what we're going to be talking about today. So the period basket at its core is giving a basket to somebody who is menstruating. Now, there are baskets out there, adults gifting stuff to other adults, like best friends giving them to other best friends, or a partner giving it to their partner who's experiencing a period. We're not talking about those videos today. We're talking about largely women giving period baskets for their daughter's first period. There are exceptions of like sisters giving them to their sister who's having her first period. But largely overall, we're looking at parental figures, adults, gifting baskets to children experiencing their first period. The general feeling behind these videos, like the sentiment as to why the video is being made and why the basket is being given at all, is to help ease what could be an uncomfortable or unwelcome experience. Doing something nice or celebrating somebody's first period that, I don't know, think about your own experience and how awkward that might have been if you're someone who gets a period. Maybe like if you were anxious or scared about it, or just, I think there's just like a lot of negative discourse out there, negative belief and even dread about periods. And these baskets are meant to challenge some of that, destigmatize that, and teach young girls that a period can be welcome. Just kind of making it less of a negative and uncomfortable thing, which is a sentiment that I get behind, that I appreciate. I want to make it clear that period baskets aren't inherently a negative thing. I feel a little bit differently about them than I do with the boo baskets and burr baskets, because on a conceptual level, I don't like the boo baskets and burr baskets. They feel like obligatory gifting, and while I can understand how they can be done with care and thought and, in budget and all of that, if I saw somebody in my family gifting it to somebody else, I wouldn't say anything. And the problem with those largely lies in the overconsumption when it comes to the internet. With these, though, I appreciate them and what they're doing in sentiment. And I think that culturally in North America anyway, that there is still work to be done with like destigmatizing periods, and a lot of young girls still growing up with this idea of like dread or even like uncleanliness or other kinds of things that happen with periods. And so I appreciate that sentiment. And also because for somebody's first period, they're most likely going to buy stuff for it, whether that is a period product in specific or new underwear. Stuff is going to be bought, even if it's not today or the very first ones. New stuff is going to be bought because literally something new is happening to one's body. So I'm not mad people are buying stuff for their periods. And I'm also not mad that people are throwing in like some snacks or like a card. I think that could be thoughtful. And if a parent knows that their child is being or feeling particularly anxious, stressed, or nervous, this could be something welcomed for the child, and the goal can potentially be achieved. And also potentially open the door to a conversation about like how to use products or things like that, which I can also appreciate. I know I love to dunk on stuff on this channel, but this is a trend that has good parts and bad parts, and we're going to be talking about both today. So if you expected this to be this is so bullshit and just like a negative dunking, this is not the video. We're going to talk about both parts today. Now, just to be clear, these period basket videos are not benign, and they do come with problems. So we're going to start there. We're going to start with the Instagram reel that was sent to me that kickstarted this whole thing, because I really think that it represents a good jumping off point to talk about the crux of the problem. And then we'll get into some other kinds of content. Just also an aside, when I was answering DMs, I was like I was able to get through a few weeks, and there were a few videos or like a few messages that once I saved the video, the message completely disappeared. So I don't know who sent this to me. Like, it's gone from my DMs and I'm not sure. So I apologize. I don't have the proper credit for this. And if it was you, let me know in the comments, because only one person sent it to me. So you should know who you are. Let's now watch the video.
Influencers making sponsored content out of their daughter's first periods is just...
Let's make a period kit for my daughter. My oldest just turned 12, which means the big moment is just around the corner. Her first period. I've heard of...
I can't deal with this. It's already so hard being a young girl going through puberty without your mom making sponsored content based around it. I'm Fortessa. I'm a journalist and I write about influencers, mom influencers, family vloggers. And I interviewed a young woman who, not this young woman, but another one, whose mom is an influencer who made sponsored content around her period. And let's just hear from her directly.
A lot of things have been on display that would just make me feel embarrassed or even ashamed. There was this one time we did a paid blog post social media partnership with a sanitary pad company. I had to pose with the sanitary pads and do a video of them and talk about my period experience. And that was so mortifying to me. Being only 14 at the time, I just felt like I wanted to crawl into a hole and never.
I don't think that all of the backlash against mom influencers and family vloggers is valid, but then I see stuff like this and I'm just I feel like it's a safe bet to just not make sponsored content out of your daughter's first menstrual cycle. Just seems like a good bet.
So here's what we saw in this video. The creator of the video, Fortessa, showcases a mom compiling a period basket for her daughter who has not yet had her first period, is 12 years old, but is anticipating her first period. And she made this video because it was a sponsorship with Kotex, like a period product brand. So we see her putting the products into the basket, talking about it, and majority of the clip is the journalist green screening over it, and then she has a clip with a young woman who is talking about her experience. The interviewed young woman, her face is not visible, and her voice has been masked. We have a couple of layers here. We have the period basket video that is happening, but then we also have the period basket being made because it's a sponsorship. Or this is how the mom decided to go about doing the sponsorship. There's the sponsorship layer is one layer, but then also this feels a little bit like coercive consent, where the daughter did give consent to the mom, but because of the power dynamics that exist within a family, the daughter did not freely give consent to do this, and did it despite feeling intense humiliation and embarrassment. This type of content, even without the sponsorship, feels exploitative of a child. And even when a child is not on screen or is not actually depicted either, because we will see examples of moms making a video, putting together the basket, the child's not there, the child, we might not even know the child's name, but that to me still feels like exploiting your child for views. I don't like it. I think, and this is going to be maybe full disclosure as to why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I have had personal experiences in which the power dynamics of parent and child have been exploitative, or just it bothers me intensely. And when parents do not listen to their children, it is a personal button that gets pushed. And I feel for children in these situations. I've not had an experience like this, not trying to out anybody here, but I feel for children in these experiences, and I care about them a lot more than the parents making the content. A first period is a part of life for many people, but this is an intimate moment for a young girl. I do understand that because you are a parent, this affects a parent, and it can affect your view of your child, like your child is growing up. However, this feels like taking something that is ultimately about somebody else and making it about you. Not everything needs to be recorded and published on the internet. The mom did not need to make this ad. And in my opinion, it would have benefited the child if the mom did not make the ad. And even if she did want to make the ad, there are ways to do it without involving the child or making it be about your specific child. Periods should be destigmatized. Like, that should be a thing, and that is something I am wholeheartedly on board with. However, using your daughter as like the mechanism for that is also not the way to do it. Part of how we destigmatize things can be through the public conversations about them. The conversations about periods can be a great thing to do. She could have given advice. Here is what I would do if I was having my first period now. Here's what I learned. Here are the first products I would use. You could still use your Kotex ad. I would use this product because as a first-time period person, I don't really know what my flow is going to be like. So this one is the good option. Or, here are the 3 sizes or the 4 sizes of the pads, whatever it is you got. I would use this one for this one for this one for this. No child is involved. I think a good example of destigmatization that has been happening over the last 15 years is mental health. In the last decade in specific, and also because of social media, we have had a significant uptick in people sharing their own personal stories, being neurodivergent, but also with mental health, particularly things like depression and anxiety, as well as ADHD and autism. I got diagnosed with anxiety in the very early 2010s, and I was super embarrassed about it because it felt like nobody else had it. I didn't know anybody else with it. I was embarrassed about it. I think I was like 18 or 19 when it happened, and it happened on a whim. That's not the story for today. Not a whim. It happened by chance. However, the older that I got, the more I realized that I was not alone and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. I don't really talk about it on this channel because it's not really what this channel is about, but I have no embarrassments about it. It's part of my life, I should say. And part of how I've come to accept this part of myself is from just all of the public conversations and hearing about all the people who have anxiety or even ADHD. I felt so less alone, and I stopped feeling like I was the only one within, a few years. Gen Z and Gen Alpha are the generations that are benefiting even more from this. More openness in the conversation and less embarrassment or less maybe negative feelings or unwelcomed feelings about whatever neurodivergent struggles they might have or mental illness that they might have. They benefited from the more openness that has happened, and we didn't need gift baskets to do it. And to be honest, I really believe that these gift baskets are not about destigmatization. I think they are about monetization. If you really care about destigmatizing periods, you would have a chat on your channel about destigmatizing periods, or talk about those kinds of things like I was just mentioning. And maybe this is just like a view that somebody might have, like periods should be destigmatized. I'll say that's me. I never really thought about it that deeply because I've had my period for a long time and I don't have anybody in my life who's experiencing their first period. These thoughts about or the importance of these things may become extra clear to you if you are going through it in your personal life. And sure, it's fine to have those public conversations because they are more relevant to you now. I think that this is happening because of the content, though. This is extra content to make, and putting together a period box, I think, is going to have more eyes on a channel than having an open dialogue about periods or recommending period products to people or sharing your own experience. I think that the period box is more clickable and more in line with some of the consumption desires of an audience, or maybe more in line with some of the other content that a creator is already making. And it's also like an intimate moment that people get to like peer into your life, which also kind of tends to do better because it's exploiting a private moment. Let's now get back to the child for a moment. We are still capitalizing on a vulnerable moment of a child. I think back to my first period, and I was 9. I was in grade 4. I thought that something was wrong when it first happened, and I was like kind of freaked out. And then like I eventually had to tell my mom, and I was so embarrassed about it. And again, I felt like I was the only one, and like nobody else had gotten it yet. But other people in my class, like I found out many years later that I was not the only one and I was not the first one, but everybody kind of held their secrets in until a few years later because we were all embarrassed about it. Even girls who got it in 5th and 6th and 7th grade. The conversation happened around 7th grade. So it is also normal for periods to happen after 7th. I could not imagine my mom at that point going onto Facebook, that would be for the time, and making a basket for me and showing all of Facebook, all of her audience, if she had, you know, a big audience like these TikTokers, and showing them all the period products that she got for me, I would have been mortified. Some of these baskets do include underwear, and I, to this day, do not show my underwear on screen because it's none of your goddamn business what my underwear looks like. What kind of underwear I'm wearing. And I understand that there's like period underwear, which is like kind of different because some people are showing it in the box. I don't really have a problem with that, but I've seen videos in which like an individual pair of underwear is like put on screen when people like are packing a kit or something. Not necessary. I would be embarrassed if my underwear that I was going to be wearing was shown on screen. A period is no big deal to me now, but that's because I've had one for over 20 years. I want to make this very clear. I'm giving you these examples because if I had a child and they were having a period and I made this period box because I believe a period is no big deal, that in my opinion is minimizing the child's experiences, their thoughts, and their feelings, and saying how you feel as the parent is more important and is more accurate. Like, you're a child, you don't know any better. That is so invalidating to a child. And let me tell you, children remember these kinds of things. I think creators, when they make these videos, are either not thinking or they're just thinking so much through the lens of content creation, or that periods are not a big deal, that they are ignoring or forgetting about how their child might feel, or they're just not considering their child's feelings in all of this. Validating and acknowledging your child's feelings are way more important than content. We're going to move on and we're going to watch another period video. This one also involves a child, like the child is on screen. I am going to blur out the child. Even though the child consented to being in the video, they are still a child. And I may have to cut it for like privacy of the child. Just like a heads up because I haven't done the cutting yet. So we will have to see. Let's watch.
So today my baby got her first menstrual cycle. When she came downstairs to tell me, I was so shocked. Even though we've been preparing for this since she was 9. She went to learning your body class at 9 and they explained this to her. But I still was not prepared for this. So me being the extra mom that I am, I rushed to the store and brought all her favorite snacks, bought everything to make this transition into becoming a young lady as easy and exciting as possible. I let her know it's normal. She said it was okay if I make this video, and we are ready.
In this video, what we saw was a child in front of a bunch of stuff. I don't know how to say it. There's some treats in there, some period products in there, a card, I think a gift card I saw. The mom shows the inside of the card on camera. She got her daughter flowers and socks and things like that. We see the child holding the flowers, and then you can hear the mom's voiceover. So let's start with the good of this video, because there is good here. The mom sent her child to a Learn Your Body class when she was 9, which I think is a great thing if this is something that you can afford or is made available to you. I think 9 is a great age for that because I believe the age range for somebody getting their period, like average, is around like 9 to 14 is when first periods come on for, I think, a lot of people. The average age is apparently around 12, but that does not mean your child will experience their first period at age 12. And then also there's potentially room here for an expert to talk to a child about what they can expect in their own body, which can be an extremely awkward and uncomfortable conversation on behalf of the parent or the child. Because I know that if my mom wanted to have like an in-depth conversation or just use the word vagina to me, I would have been like, you know, like some of these conversations children don't want to hear from their parents. So you let these conversations play out, or maybe dad or sister or grandma, depending on your own family situation. Sometimes, children don't want these conversations with their family, or maybe they're more open to hearing it from like a sister instead of mom. And also, if a child has questions, they may feel less embarrassed to, talk in these settings, like this class setting where like mom is not involved. However, that can totally depend on the child. Like there are lots of different kinds of children out there who might feel only comfortable talking to mom and not in these class settings. That is totally reality for lots of people as well. The mom also wrote her daughter a card to encourage her, which I think is really lovely and can capture some of that positive sentiment that many creators have expressed as the goal of these period baskets. I personally would not have shown the card publicly. I feel like that's crossing a line. I also would not be showing the underwear that I was getting my child, just because there can be creepers out there who may know that these videos exist and may want to watch this content for those reasons. Also, I wouldn't show the card because that to me kind of feels a little bit like, look at the good things I'm doing instead of just doing the good thing, but that could just be me. The mom also says her daughter consented, which I am inclined to believe. We're going to believe the mom. And the daughter looks, and I can't see, but she looks relatively comfortable on camera and relatively curious about the product, although that isn't entirely the tell. As we've seen or heard more like earlier in this video, somebody appearing on camera or a mom saying that consent happened doesn't actually mean that consent happened. And 180,000 people viewed that video. They viewed her receiving her first period products with her right there. And she may not want that on the internet forever. She's a tween right now. She might be fine with it, but in a few years may not be, because she may not fully understand what it means to consent, even if mom was not coercive about it. I find this video a breach of the child's privacy. I find the video exploitative of her daughter's first period. And again, I think this mom did a lot of great things and could have said, here's my recommendation to you if your child is going through their first period or you're not sure how to handle it. Here's how I would handle it as a mom. Recommending the body class, great. And she can learn from the experiences with her child. Maybe she bought her child one pack of pads as an example and was like, actually, that wasn't a great idea. I think, giving some options is the better choice. She does not have to directly involve her child. She could just say, what I would do would be to provide multiple options for these reasons. It doesn't have to be, my child had trouble with this, so her child is removed from the situation. This just as I was mentioning, just feels like for the content and capitalizing on a intimate moment. All right, we're gonna watch another video.
Today my daughter called me from school to let me know that she started her period. So I've heard of a period box before. I never had gotten one, but I thought of some things to put in there. We got some pads, a heating pad. I got her a card, a shirt that says "Do Not Disturb," some comfy shorts, a razor, shaving cream, a face mask, a book that she likes, a mask for her eyes, pore strips, some Pampering for those cramps, some deodorant spray, and some face scrubs. Hopefully she likes it.
I promise you we will talk about the gift giving scenario or the gift giving implications of this later on, but there are some other things I want to talk about with this basket first. This also feels like a breach of privacy of the child. My daughter, like, you're giving personal information. My daughter called me from school. Like, you're talking to like a friend on the phone, and your followers are not the friend on the phone. I think some of this stuff is fine. The pads are fine. The card is fine. I don't like that the name of the card of the child is on it. I don't feel like I should be able to say this specific child, or I'll use my name as an example, that Shauna got her period on May 18th, 2022, and Shauna called her mom at school and told her mom she got her period, and mom is bringing stuff like, you know what I'm saying? I also think that there are things like heating pads and cramp medication that may not actually be necessary and may also be in the home. If there is a person at home who experiences a period, they might already have these things. Why not let the first period play out? Does this person get cramps? Does this person need or want a heating pad? Maybe you could try out mom's, or if there's one in the house, maybe you could try out that one before just buying the heating pad. This just feels like a should or a nice to have because we're giving a gift. Right? It's something to put in the box instead of actually assessing need or experience. This person may not want or need medication. And also, depending on the age of the child, other medications that they might have may not be the right move. I'm not telling people don't take medication, but there's an assumption here. And if this stuff already exists in the home, even better, that you can like try these things out, like try medication once if the daughter feels like it's necessary. And then if she doesn't like it, you don't have like that whole bottle there. Perhaps it's not going to go to waste if somebody else uses it, but hopefully you get the point. She also gave her daughter, which this bothered me a little bit. She gave her daughter a razor, a shaving cream, face scrubbers, pore strips, and deodorant. The razor bothered me a lot. It's not involved in a period. I get where we're going with like the hormones and like puberty and such, but that is not required for a period. And some of this stuff feels more anticipatory. Like you're probably going to get acne because you are now menstruating. Acne is a common side effect of periods that many people experience. But the daughter hasn't even had the period yet. We don't really know what that situation is going to be like. And depending on the child, they might not enjoy or appreciate or even feel comfortable with. Like it might not be a positive thing for the child to receive acne stuff. A period on its own can be tough enough, in my opinion as well. And this could be me reaching a little bit, but a lot of people come from backgrounds in which periods are viewed as unhygienic. I heard a lot of those stories growing up. And I think that some of these products maybe help that connotation. It implies at least a connotation or a connection of periods being unhygienic because you're giving like literal hygiene items. And also specifically with the acne, and I understand as well that this is another button of my own. A lot of people will tell people with acne that if you just like wash your face a little bit more, or like the pimple patch, that is how you do the acne thing. Again, I think it's cementing the belief that like acne comes from poor hygiene. That can be some of the reasons why, but also acne is hormonal in many cases, especially when it's happening during a period. And so I kind of feel like we have, I don't know, like an oxymoron happening here, or like two opposing kind of ideas. You're anticipating the acne that is hormonal that probably or may not be able to be treated by like a cleanser or a pore strip. but we're buying those things anyway. And I found those messages just like particularly infuriating because I grew up for years, people making comments about, and like telling me to like clean my skin more. I'm one person, one example, just like this kind of thing would have been, I would have been upset about it, at least some of them. We're going to move on, and we are now going to look at the gift giving component. This video has 1.6 million views, and one of the reasons for that is the aesthetics. We bought a bunch of stuff that isn't really necessary. Like we have a rare beauty candle, we have nails, the candy's fine, the period products are fine. I'll give the bags for like the pads and the tampons, I'm going to give them a pass because many people do want them. And I'm also being charitable and assuming that the person doesn't have anything that they could use. And I appreciate that she gave the person 2 options. I also don't know the age of the person getting the period. And some people don't want to use tampons just because like I wouldn't have at my first period. That doesn't mean that somebody older wouldn't want those. They might want to try them. And this person has given them the option to try them. If we're giving people stuff like that, then you wouldn't inherently need to buy new boxes of these things. If like we're giving somebody option to try, like you could pull from your own stash, and obviously these are products that you like because you use them, so that's an option. We have that heating pad, we have the eye mask. I don't really know what the eye mask is for. Like, how does this relate to the period? Like, do you sleep a lot? Is that the connotation? We also got, and I'm looking at my screen here, that candle is a rare beauty candle limited edition. I don't actually know the full cost because it's no longer available. The price that I saw was $40, although I don't know how accurate that is. She included skincare products, again reading these titles off the screen, something called Perfect Legs Body Butter, $40, Perfect Legs Skin Miracle, $45, the matching scrub, which is $40. It's $125 in skincare products. The blanket, $30. A lot of this stuff is available on her Amazon storefront. And this video, more than the other ones, appeared to me like the boo baskets and burr baskets we saw people compiling these baskets in the exact same way that we were seeing here. There is no sentiment expressed about why we're even making this basket. It's just like POV, here's a basket. Here's an aesthetic basket to like give you inspiration for making your basket. It's compiled in the same ways the boo baskets and burr baskets. That's what this, to me, this feels more like doing aesthetic basket for Instagram. It's almost irrelevant why we're doing it. We're making the basket to make the video because people like the baskets. It feels like another opportunity to give a gift opposed to something related to a period. The only things that make this basket, period related, are the tampons and the pads. Those are not the majority of the products being given, is my point. We also have one called like the self-care box. I'm going to put on the screen now as I'm talking. There's nails in there as well. There's perfume. This to me, these are symbols of this being about like gift giving and not some of the sentiments expressed about making this like a positive occasion. You don't need to give somebody a box of perfume and press-on nails and like a mug tumbler in order for this to have the sentiment that you want. And then again, we have the cost of the box that needs to be factored into it, or the basket if we're buying that. And a lot of these videos have included the basket. This video that I just played is also called like a self-care basket. And we are again equating consumer goods to self-care. It's a clear connection between buying stuff and self-care, or that self-care revolves around buying stuff. So we are now going to watch another video that is from the perspective of the mom who's shopping for, period basket for her child. The overall message of this video is putting this together is healing a part of her. So let's watch. There we go. This video has 3.5 million views. And as far as putting together a basket goes, I'm not really mad at that. The only things in the basket that I'm like, maybe we don't need is the lip balm. The lip balm kind of feels like we threw something in. The socks, another rounding out the basket kind of thing. And then the hair clips. Like if she kept in the hair clips, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Like I don't have much to say about this. What I do have things to say about is the message of the video and the cake. We're going to talk about the cake. The text on the screen says, "Come with me to make a first period basket for my baby while healing a little part of me who only got a pad when I got mine." My take on this may be controversial because there are tons of people in her comments agreeing with this sentiment. Receiving a pad or a box of pads for your first period is not a bad thing. It is not in and of itself a sign of neglect or a parent who did not care about you. There is an implication in her message that this is not good enough. And if a parent did this for their child, they somehow don't care, or it is a traumatizing thing to do to just be like, here are some pads. This is not neglectful or inherently a problem. It's the context in which it happens that can be the problem. If you're young and your parent doesn't really tell you what to do or help you understand what's happening, and they're just like, here, figure it out. I get it. That could be a shitty thing. And there are people who experience that. We don't know the context in which this person is talking about, and I understand, nor do I expect, or am I suggesting that this person share their story online. But I think that just saying getting pads for your first period is a problem. I don't think that's true. And it's the implication of this message that giving menstrual products alone is a problem. Not everything in life has to be a gift-giving event. And if you want to destigmatize periods with your child, getting a period box isn't going to necessarily do that in and of itself. You can be talking about the body or using anatomical terms from when the child is extremely young, being open about bodily functions and getting the child or, doing your best to help your child get comfortable talking to, the parent, talking about their body and what's happening with their body, and having the parent be open for their child to ask them questions. That is how one, in my opinion, destigmatizes periods or bodily functions. And so if you've never done that and then just give somebody a period box and expect their outlook to just be different, could be setting people up for failure. Mom or dad or sister aren't inherently comfortable people to talk to because you've given the person a period basket. It doesn't magically wash away somebody's embarrassment or shame if there are other cultural conditions or social conditions or factors that have factored into that feeling. Me personally, I don't think a period box would have done anything except potentially make me feel more awkward. That's why I think a period box isn't the end all be all or the right solution or approach for every child. There can be children in which this is welcoming and celebratory and makes them feel more comfortable with what's happening, but that is not the case for every child. And if you are a parent with a child who is likely to menstruate, that is something I think is important to keep in mind. And you're also not a shitty parent if you don't do this. If you don't want this for your child, or you don't think your child would like it, or it doesn't feel right for some reason, or you can't afford it, this is okay. It's another example of social media taking something and like turning another thing into an obligatory gift giving thing in which children might see this and might say like, Mom, buy me stuff for my first period. It's the gift giving for literally every occasion that feels bothersome to me, or that like it's not celebratory enough if you don't do this, or you're contributing to negative stereotypes or beliefs around periods if you don't do this. The parent also gifted their child a cake that says welcome to womanhood, and the first time I saw this, I had a visceral like a oh my god kind of thing. And I can acknowledge that there are going to be some, her daughter is older. I know that. I don't know exactly how old she is, but very likely a like early teen. She might be open to this, and some children will be and might be perfect. Other children may not be. Like it may be awkward as fuck to like cut a cake with like dad for some people, or throwing a party. I've heard of period parties. Not everyone's gonna like that. So I'm not trying to say that this isn't welcome for her child. It's just not right for everybody. But I'm using this as the jumping off point to talk about womanhood. Let's talk about this. A period is not a welcome experience by everybody who gets one, nor is it the experience of everybody who considers themselves a woman. Not only do intersex people exist, but not all intersex people experience a period, and not all people who menstruate want to. Periods may be a distressing time for those who are thinking about their gender, who may be trans, and are like in a moment of questioning these things or trying to come to an understanding about these things. The narrative that has come along with many of these videos, not all, is this like, welcome to womanhood, or you're a woman now because you've had a period. This firmly roots gender with biology, and it is another way for society to perpetuate gender essentialism. You know, I talk about the capacity to influence online, and I just think that this is another way that this happens. I have talked about social norms and beliefs in this video, and you may not pinpoint one specific person or one specific instance that may have encouraged you to be embarrassed or made you feel or contributed to your own embarrassment about your period, but society, cultural beliefs, those are the things that contribute. The same thing applies here. You may not know of a specific instance in which you've seen or heard the beliefs of equating gender with biology. These TikToks are like a contributor to that. Even if you're cis, gender is still not inherently biological. There are still social forms of gender. There are still cultural forms of gender that still apply to cis people. And sometimes it kind of feels like social and cultural forms of gender only apply to trans people and not to cis people. No, they're a way that people affirm and experience their gender in cultural and social ways if they're cis or trans, or if they are not identifying as either. As I was saying, it's not a private moment with your child. It is the internet's moment with your child. Lastly, I do think that the like welcome to womanhood narrative is just like a little weird around periods. Maybe this is just me. A period is like a symbol of fertility, that you are now physically able to carry a child. Like it kind of feels like, congratulations, you are now able to bear a child and you're 12. The narrative doesn't have to be either secrecy on one hand or shouting on the other hand. You know, like shouting congratulations from the rooftops. And it's fine if the way that you do these things is somewhere in the middle. I want to end on a video from a creator who is making period content that I love. And also, there are like period boxes. There is this, one of them is this tween period kit from Red Drop that is like a version of this. Like if you really want to give somebody this, you can go for it because it's like a period kit. I'm going to show you a screenshot actually. It's a fun little kit that you can give to somebody. You can like have it on hand and be like, congratulations, and like maybe add a card or like some candy with that. And there you go. There's your first period thing. They're not the only ones. This was just one that I was seeing. Anyway, I'm going to now show you a period video that I do like. The last video we're going to end on is a first period, how to tell your dad. I think that telling a dad could potentially be an awkward situation, especially so as this implication is that your dad is somebody who does not experience a period. However, even though this is about dad, I think that this could also be sent to somebody who is not dad.
All right, so your daughter just started her period and she's a little scared to tell you, so she sent you this video. So I'm gonna help you out. First of all, you're gonna need to get her some supplies. There are 3 different types of pads that you need. This is a nighttime pad, and I'll put my favorite brand here. This is much bigger than a daytime pad and holds a lot more blood, which will help her like not leak during the night. Here's a daytime pad, and I'll also put a picture here of what it looks like at the store. And here's a panty liner. And this is for when you have discharge or a really light period day. I know, TMI. I recommend you get her pads instead of tampons just for starting out. If you do end up getting her tampons, make sure you get one with the applicator. This brand is really good. Also, you might want to get her some period underwear. These are like reusable pads and you can wear them when you sleep and they absorb blood. Also, if your daughter does sports, these will be really useful. Also, get her black underwear. That way when she's having a light day or if she doesn't have the period underwear, all of her underwear isn't stained and ruined. Also, she'll probably be having cramps, so if you want to get her some medicine for that, also little snackies will help, and also baby wipes to just clean down there in between changing out the pads and tampons. And maybe even a heating pad.
I'm a big fan of this. If you've watched it, then you probably understand why it might be going to dad who may not have had experience with like pads and things like that. There are definitely many cis men out there who've had experiences with these things. I do know men who have bought their sisters or their moms or their daughters period products before. And this isn't inherently like a strange or unknown place for all men, but it can absolutely be that way. So I appreciate the like, here's what these things are, and drawing on her own personal experience, and also suggests consider a snack, consider a heating device, or consider the like cramp medication instead of like buy this. That's the video. That's everything for me today. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the period basket. And also, I, until this video, did not know that they existed, although my knowledge of something existing does not mean that something has not been around for a long time. I found out from many of you in the Boo Basket video that like Boo Baskets, or some of y'all received Boo Baskets in the early 2000s. So are period baskets or period gifts, are they normal in your cultural context or in your social context, your experience more generally? I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again around here soon. Bye.